Assalamu alaikum, this is a short workshop on security device, far-right violence, what you should do and what you should expect from the police, CPS to protect your community and mosque by Nasir Hafizi. This slide sets out some previous and ongoing work and achievements that I and my colleagues have undertaken over the past 2 or 3 decades. Legal policy briefings to the community, organised major conferences, engaged in government consultations, out of school settings, Schedule 7 passenger stops, engaged with the review of terrorism, and made people aware of the protect duty. We've also engaged in issues relating to the media, preparing media statements and organising media conferences. And when it comes to policing and security, we have pushed the police to record anti-Muslim crime specifically as a hate crime, and we've prepared videos about what to do in the event of a weapons attack and to promote third-party reporting centres. A short introduction about me. I'm a legal digital content creator. I have a YouTube channel called Community Legal Education on YouTube, and I have a TikTok, Street Lawyer, and one of my TikToks went viral. What would England, and that's the England football team, be without immigration? It has over 100,000 views and it has 1,600 comments. Most of them are anti-Muslim and anti-immigrant. I'm also a solicitor, I'm also a trainer, and I train people in policing, criminal law, human rights, security, safeguarding, and baking. There are 5 key principles that run through this presentation: safety of people, preparation, implementation, communication, and challenge. There are 3 situations I want you to think about. What would you do as a community leader, as a masjid leader? Situation 1 is that you, as a circulating far-right post, you become aware of a far-right post encouraging a protest in an area outside a mosque or other location. Situation 2 is far-right present in the vicinity of the local community mosque or other location. And situation 3 is about pre and post violence and the CPS, police and community. What do you do re the police and CPS? What do you do re the local community? And what do you do regarding the local neighbourhood? The first point to note is this: as community leaders, masjid leaders, you need to do a security risk assessment. Appoint a person to carry out a thorough written risk assessment, identify any potential risks of harm to the safety of employees, volunteers, worshippers, local people, building. Consider the potential risks specific to far-right violence, the use of projectiles, the use of rubbish used to set fire to and then push towards a building. Implement measures to reduce and eliminate those risks of harm. Train all staffs in the risk assessment. Watch the video being better prepared on YouTube, on my Community Legal Education YouTube. Practice the ring of security measure. Carry out an emergency test. Remember, measures may change as the threat increases or decreases, so the risk of assessment should be under constant review. And make sure that you have proper insurance in place, the correct level and scope of that insurance to cover potential serious public order issues that your masjid, your building, your location may face. Situation 1 is where there's a circulating far-right post. What do you do as a community leader? So there's a couple of do's. Do hold a community leaders meeting, that's trustees and committee members, ASAP, agree a strategy, take action. Do designate a particular community leader, that might be a trustee or a committee member, to report the matter to the specific police officer via call or email ASAP as a threat and a possible malicious communication, false communication offence, or even threatening communication offence, which I'm going to mention later, and request a meeting and support. Do ensure CCTV is working in and around the building. Do ensure alarm is working. Do ensure fence is secure. Do ensure access points are clear. Do ensure entry and exits are monitored. Do make sure shutters are working if you have them. Do appoint a trusted volunteers to attend if necessary and safe. And do ensure plenty of security high-vis jackets to give to those volunteers. And consider the ring of security. Again, situation 1, circulating far-right post, deployment of police resources outside buildings. The police can set up mobile cameras with camera, uniformed police stationed outside, and regular patrols, and that's all subject to resources available to the police. Moving on to situation 2, this is where the far right are outside the building, the masjid, the office. There's a couple of do's. Call the police ASAP, let them take necessary policing action. Take advice from the police about your activities, that is, whether to continue or suspend them. Consider implementing the ring of security, that's the call for volunteers to attend to protect the building. If safe to do so. Support a community demonstration if managed well and assessed as safe. They've been tremendous over the last few days to stop far right being even present in an area. Communicate to the local community about decisions made, about whether it's open for prayer, work, or weddings, or any other kind of activity. With situation 2, there's a couple of things that you shouldn't do if the far right are outside a local community's mosques. First, don't be provoked. Secondly, don't chase opposing individuals or groups through the streets and centres of the town or the city. Don't mask up. Don't engage in retaliation and revenge attacks. These pose more challenges to the police than they need to have at the time to deal with the far right groups. And it also causes likely to cause fear to local residents and neighbours, and it's extremely bad publicity. Situation 3, pre and post violence. This is where I'm going to focus now on police powers against the far right, criminal offences against the far right, and engagement with police and CPS. This is quite important as well. There are a number of police powers that they can use against the far right. So they can use Section 1, Section 60, police powers to stop and search. They can use Section 68A, police powers to remove face coverings. The police have got the power to have dispersal powers, Section 34, to instruct a person to leave an area. If they return, they can be arrested. Police powers of arrest, Section 24. The police have also preemptive powers of arrest for terrorism, conspiracy to cause a public nuisance, and to arrest for social media offences. The police also have powers to carry out post-incident arrests for those offences as well. So when it comes to the police powers and process, the police do have powers, depending on the conditions, to ban assemblies. The police also have powers, depending again on the situation, to issue Section 12 conditions on the individuals outside. Section 14 conditions, that's about route and time and where they should be located if there's some sort of gathering. Community leaders should ask senior police officers about those conditions to protect people, mosques and schools, and they should also consider whether they're going to be taking any action to try and remove the group from the area. There are a number of criminal offences that the police and the Crown Prosecution Service who prosecute can decide to take action against individuals who are offending. So there's the terrorism offences, Terrorism Act 2006. You've got Section 1, glorifying terrorism. Section 2, disseminating terrorist material. Section 5, acts preparatory to terrorism. Acts preparatory to terrorism is life in prison. It's a very serious offence. You've got a number of public order offences. Section 1, riot, 12 or more, that's 10 years in prison max. Section 2, violent disorder, that's 3 or more, that's maximum sentence of 5 years. And one of the questions you might want to ask the police and CPS is why there's a charge for violent disorder, which is lower public order than riot. In previous instances, in 2001, in 2011, when I was which I was involved in as a lawyer, those individuals were arrested, charged for riot, not violent disorder, which is a lower public order offence. There's also assault emergency worker. That's Section 1 of the Assault Emergency Worker Act, and that's a maximum sentence of 2 years. This is about targeting police officers. You've got aggravated arson, maximum sentence is 10 years. Causing a public nuisance, maximum sentence is 10 years. Possession of offensive weapon, that could be a stick, a baseball bat, a machete. Maximum sentence is 4 years. And then you have a number of social media offences. Section 127, improper use of electronic communications offence, 6 months. Section 1, malicious communications offence, maximum 2 years. Section 179, false communications offence, that's in the new Online Safety Act, maximum sentence is 6 months. You've got the section 181, again very important, threatening communications offence, maximum is 5 years. And then you've got the final one, which is incitement to racial and religious hatred, maximum sentence is 7 years. And again, all of these offences are known to the CPS, and the question is what offences are these individuals being charged with? Are they being charged with the right level of offence, which reflects their offending behaviour? And questions should be asked, which I'll mention later. There's also something else that the CPS and the court CPS should push for, and the community should push for, which are criminal behaviour orders against those who are convicted. Orders made on conviction require these individuals to do certain things. It might be rehabilitation activities, maybe even engage in prevent, maybe prohibitions, maybe restricting their movements, internet use. It may put forward an exclusion type zone. You can't go 500 yards of a building or a place of worship or a masjid in particular. So these are very important in terms of how practically measures can be used from the court to protect masjids. Future actions could be against far-right groups is to ban particular far-right groups, and from the ban you get Section 12 Terrorism Act 2006 supporting offences. So your invitation, supporting, organising an event where a banned group would speak. There are 6 specific type of supporting offences, and they all are subject to a maximum sentence of 14 years in prison. So they're quite serious. This is something that people need to consider doing post-violence. It's being transparent, having transparent, open community meetings with the police to influence the police and CPS decision making. So when it comes to the police, if you haven't seen my letters I've sent to the Chief Constable of Greater Manchester or to the Crown Prosecution Service, the Chief Prosecutor, there needs to be some engagement, letter writing, expressing some concerns and recommendations, arranging and engaging early constructive in police and CPS meetings, request a copy of the policing briefing document which sets out the specific guidance to police officers about what they should be looking for in terms of police powers and what kind of offences people could commit, and what type of activity would cross that line. We should be asking specific questions over the actions taken by the police. How many have investigated for terrorism or riot or social media offences? How many have been arrested for terrorism, riot and social media offences? How many have been convicted for terrorism, riot and social media offences? And how many are subject to those criminal behaviour orders? And we want to know the names, and we want to know specifically whether they're excluding individuals from approaching masjids. When it comes to the CPS, again, transparent community meetings to influence CPS decision making, letters and meetings. If you haven't seen the letter I've sent, send me an email and I'll send you a copy of mine. Level of charge. Why is it violent disorder not right that many people have been charged with? What are the social media offences? Why is it Section 127, not Section 18? It should say 181. The CBO is the terms. Do they include going not going near a place of worship? Consider writing a victim impact statement so the prosecutors can use it in the sentencing hearing. There are pros and cons to that. The pros are that the individual who is being sentenced will likely get a greater sentence, knowing the victim impact statement from you. But there are cons. There may be a fear of reprisals because you need to sign a statement. Community communications. What happened in those meetings? Too many meetings take place behind closed doors. Nobody knows what's going on unless you're in that meeting. What are the police and CPS doing well? What are the police and CPS need to improve on? And you need to thank them for their support as well. Caution against complacency. The far right threat, has not gone away. It rears its ugly head usually every decade that I remember from the 70s. So continue to challenge false far-right narratives at the time, whether that's by political leaders, political figures, media commentators. You need to challenge those false far-right narratives there and then. Challenge the blame the victim post far-right violence commentary as well. That's also very important. And also be cautious of some new laws that might be brought in the back of these riots. Protect duty which is about the counter-terrorism unit inspecting places of worship, masjids, buildings, and the subsequent convictions and financial penalties for security measures not being put in place. Again, that's going to have an adverse effect on places of worship, which are often run by volunteers, and place a bureaucratic and financial burden on them. And also there's facial recognition technology, where there's concerns about not the actual detection, only those concerns about whether they're detecting the right individual, but also the storage of the data and the sharing of that data, facial recognition technology. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. I'm always available to help organisations and individuals at this time. Keep me in your du'as. Assalamu alaikum.